Hey everybody, this is the video that you guys requested about the prompt for our Some Dreamers of the Golden Dream essay. So here is our prompt according to Didion. Why does the jury convict Lucille Miller? And so we are asking ourselves, if we know that the evidence, which we went over, we looked at it, we highlighted it, if it's basically presented equally, then where does the focus go for the reader? Where is Didion asking the reader to look, asking the reader to think about, asking the reader to contemplate beyond just, did she kill her husband or not? So we might think about some of those difficult moments that we've talked about in the past, the title, Some Dreamers of the Golden Dream, the line about sympathy and not being able to create it for her, how she talks about the setting beforehand, like in the example paragraph I handed out the other day in class. So really, we're asked to do three things for this prompt. You're asked to think about Didion's choice. So the whole essay is about Didion's choices. It's less about Lucille and more about what Didion believes is going on. So it's more about the things she chose to put in or that she chose to include. And what does it say about her opinion? And then its effect on the reader. So what is the effect on the reader through that? Okay? So we're going to go through a couple of examples and then show you how it connects to a thesis. So first I'm going to start you with this line. Each juror above whom Lucille Miller had wanted so badly to rise. It's on page 48. We haven't really talked about this one very much in class. But this was a moment where Lucille is talking, or Didion stops to talk about the jury and who was selected for the jury. And it's not necessary. We don't need this comment. We don't even need to know who's on the jury. We don't ever hear them talk. We don't ever hear their opinions. So it's really not necessary. So we have to ask ourselves, why did Didion add it? Why did she choose, like that first step, what is her choice? Her choice is to give her opinion here. And this little side note that she has about Lucille and wanting so badly to rise points out to the reader an opinion that Lucille wants to rise socially. I mean, is that something that she's ever said directly? Maybe not. But it's something that is her opinion. And by forcing the readers to read this and think about it and contemplate how Lucille wanted to be basically better socially than all these peers, makes you think about Lucille's character and makes you think about whether or not she's a sympathetic person. So once she made a choice, that choice made the readers think about her opinion, and we start being able to see that without sympathy, the reader understands why the jury may not convict her. She may not have killed her husband, but she's quote-unquote guilty of enough things and bad things and is a bad person in their eyes to make them find her guilty regardless of the evidence. Okay? So here's another detail. We have talked about this one in class, the detail about her hair and coming to court with her hair done instead of loose like her lawyer suggested. So there are probably thousands and thousands and thousands of quotes from her lawyer about what happened with this case. It was a super popular case. It was on headlines for months. So he said a lot. But she chose, so the first one she made her own opinion. She wrote it in her own opinion. This time she's choosing something on her own. So this would support the opinion that Lucille was kind of full of herself and wanted to rise socially, that she is more concerned about her own looks and her representation in that way instead of being upset about her husband or following her lawyer's advice, that she's actually going against that because of her desire to seem one way. So that kind of takes us to Didion's opinion. She's showing us this detail. She's making the reader stop and think about it so that the reader can share her opinion, that the reader is thinking about how this makes Lucille look, and then how the jury is going to interpret her. And so that brings us to the jury kind of finding no sympathy for her, and again, is finding her to be guilty, right? Regardless of the evidence, she does not seem like she has the character Instead, she just seems like she is a social climber who'll do anything to get to the top. So if we took both of those examples and we wanted to write an essay, here is a potential thesis we could come up with. Didion believes, because again, this whole thing is about Didion. It's not really about Lucille, and it's not really about Lucille's trial. Didion believes that the jury convicted Lucille because she was an unsympathetic person who only wanted to rise socially. We talked about that in both of those examples. We talked about how it showed this, the choices Didion made showed this, and we talked about why Didion made those choices. What is it that Didion wants the reader to get from those choices? Okay? If you have more questions, please let me know, and good luck on your essays.